I'm going to start registering. No, I'm going to start registering.
Hello,
No, you're sitting there.
good morning, and welcome back to You Have a Collect Call From. And let's see what it is this morning right here. We got the Connecticut Board of Paroles. Hey, what's up, Summer? How's it going? Good morning. Good day to you. He looks ready. I hope he is, because he's definitely gonna be in the fight of
Good
his
morning,
life.
Mr. Ramirez.
Good morning.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Friday, March 7th, 2025, and this is the Public Act 1584 hearing, Connecticut
Can you
Board
guys
of
hear me?
and Paroles.
And can you guys hear the
Mr.
board of
Ramirez,
parole?
for the record, the state of Connecticut passed and made effective October 1st, 2015, Public Act 1584, an
Thank
act
you.
concerning lengthy sentences for crimes
What up,
committed by a
Lex?
child or youth, and the sentencing of a child or youth convicted of certain felony offenses. You fall under this act, and basically this means that you were under the age of 18, and that the board shall give great weight to the diminished culpabilities of juveniles as compared to adults, the hallmark features of youth, and any subsequent growth and maturity that you displayed while we are reviewing you for suitability today. Following board members are present this morning, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, sir. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Nancy Turner, good morning.
Good morning. I'm panel member Barry.
Also in attendance this morning is the public defender. Can you please state your name, juris number, and business address?
Good morning, Marissa Wheeler. My address number is 443958. Business address is Hartford Superior Court, 101 Lafayette Street, Hartford, Connecticut.
Thank you. Also in attendance is the state's attorney. Please state your name, juris number, and business address.
Oh, I'm a public defender social worker. My name is Brian. Last name Habib, 101 Lafayette Street, Hartford, Connecticut.
What's his name again?
I'm sorry, can you just repeat your name again, sir?
Yeah, it's Brian Habib. I'm a public defender social worker.
Yep.
Great, thank you. Also in attendance is the state's attorney. Please state your name, juris number, and business address.
Good morning. I'm Maureen Platt. I'm the state's attorney for the Judicial District of Waterbury. With this body's permission, I would ask that an attorney in my office seated next to me, Ryan Polak, who's an attorney with my office, be permitted to speak on behalf of the state in this matter.
That's fine. Can you spell his last name?
Last name is Pollock, Pawlak, juris number 446578. Business address is 400 Grand Street in Waterbury.
Thank you. Also present today is victim advocate Hamlet Williams. Mr. Ramirez, please state your name and inmate number for the record.
William Ramirez, inmate number 395107.
This is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Ramirez, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time.
Yeah, we're gonna know
No
today.
questions at this time.
Again, this is a public hearing. Do you have any questions, and are you willing to proceed at this time?
No questions at this time, and I am willing to proceed.
This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for William Ramirez. I'm going to list his sentences, each sentence and each time. Mr. Ramirez is serving 20 years executed suspended after 15 years, followed by 5 years probation for manslaughter first.
Damn.
The following sentences are running concurrent to the 15-year sentence, and they are 15 years for conspiracy to commit robbery first, 10 years for robbery second, and 10 years for conspiracy to commit robbery second. He has a 10-year suspended sentence for robbery first, which is running consecutive to his present sentence. The total effective sentence is 30 years, executed, suspended after 15 years, followed by 5 years probation. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows Mr. Ramirez has completed tier 2, people empowering people, unlock your thinking, 7 challenges, voices, good intentions, bad choices, alternatives to violence, basic and advanced, anger management. He is housed in the True unit and has completed several programs within that unit. He has completed Smart Recovery, the Young Men's Group. He is enrolled in college. He is OSHA 10 certified, and he works in the sign shop. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Ramirez, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Good morning to the Board of Pardons and Paroles. First and foremost, I would like to start this letter by extending my gratitude for affording me this opportunity to set forth this letter to the board. I would like to start out by saying that the mistakes I have made throughout the course of my life have become lessons for growth. And I'm genuinely sorry for the painful experience that I have put my victim's family through and for taking away the person that they love most. My regrets are plenty and my remorse is heavy, and these traces of the past keep me attentive to my present situation and what I must do to become and stay well for all of society. I have spent countless of hours reflecting on my mistakes and the consequences they have wrought, not only on my life, but more importantly on theirs. At the time of my crime, I was not fully aware of the depth of pain my actions could cause, nor was I willing to accept any type of responsibility or accountability towards myself or others. However, this does not excuse my behavior, nor does it diminish the severity of my wrongdoing. There's not a day that goes by that I'm not left to reflect upon the crimes that I committed. How did I find myself in a situation that caused the death of another human being? Why did I make the decisions that I made on that tragic day? How, if ever, can I make amends for the loss of life? These questions are no doubt painful. Nevertheless, they compel me to daily attend to my transformation. On August 9th, 2013, I committed a tragic crime of a brutal robbery, assault, and death that forever changed the course of Mr. Negron's life, his family's life, and my own. At around 10 or 11 p.m. at night, I remember smoking and getting high with my friend Kevin on Central Ave in Waterbury, Connecticut. As we sat there, the irrational idea of robbing someone came to my mind. I was seeking a way to continue to increase my reputation in the streets and prove myself without realizing the tragic outcome that was to come from my poor decision that night. I told Kevin that we should go find someone who we could make a come up on, and shortly after, we left. As we were walking around through the night, we ended up by the Bishop, Adams, and Grove Street area, where I noticed 2 people walking in front of us, Mr. Negron and his girlfriend at the time. I told Kevin that I was going to ask Mr. Negron for some change, which meant that I was going to rob him. As I got closer to Mr. Negron and his girlfriend, I ran up to them and stopped them. I asked him for some change. Mr. Negron told me that he had nothing to spare for me, and in that moment, my immature, impulsive, and cowardly 17-year-old mindset kicked in. I felt like he gave me an attitude, and I didn't like her response of denying me anything. I wanted to prove to Kevin that I don't tolerate disrespect, and in that instant, it wasn't about just getting the money anymore. It was about my reputation in the streets. I punched Mr. Negron in the face one time, and then he fell to the ground. Shortly after he fell, he curled himself into a ball trying to cover his face and head. He yelled, all right, and he was willing to give me anything he had. However, I still kept punching him in the face and head about 3 or 4 more times with such anger and aggression, and I also kicked him multiple times around the head area, stomach, and back. Never did I once consider his plea or even the possibility of the initial impact that I would leave behind on him and his family. I didn't think much of the situation at all. After I brutally assaulted Mr. Negron, I aggressively went into his pockets, took some money and cigarettes, and then I ran. After I got away, I didn't think much about the brutal assault and robbery I just committed on Mr. Negron. I didn't think about his injuries, his emotions, his traumatizing experience, or even the possibility of him eventually losing his life. My arrogant self just thought about my reputation and my worth to the streets. I didn't feel no emotions of sympathy or empathy. I didn't feel nothing at all. What I did was a cowardly act of selfish. I worried about what others thought about me, and it led to an innocent man losing his life and me making the worst decision of my life this very night. To Mr. Negron's family, I've come to understand the gravity of my past actions and my involvement in the tragic death of someone meaningful to you, and the constant impact that this has had all on you as a family. I never recognized how one decision could have such a strong bearing effect. I understand that justice has to be served and that I must be punished for my crimes, because nothing can compensate for the unbearable pain that I have caused and you as a family has had to endure throughout the years. I took away the opportunity for you all to have a father figure, a brother, a partner all of your lives, and the opportunity to continue to create wonderful memories as a family together. I've come to realize how my actions of the past has caused much turmoil in your lives, and if I could go back in time and change the ways of my actions, I would do it without any hesitation. Throughout the sequence of my incarceration, I have come and learned how to be a responsible man, and I take full responsibility for my actions. I can only hope that you can see that deep down within my heart lies a genuine sense of contrition and remorse, and I pray that the Lord may help us make amends and that He may open your hearts to genuinely see my keenest sense of repentance and sorrows. My hopes are that my capacity for change will be recognized by all of you, the family, and I'm ready to prove to you and the community that I can be a productive and successful member of society. I was born on November 22nd, 1995 in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and I have two sisters, a little brother, and two nieces. As far as I can remember, I lived in Puerto Rico until I was about 3 years old, and then my mother moved to Connecticut. Being raised in the project of Northwood in Waterbury, Connecticut, I was exposed and observed many tumultuous events throughout my childhood. I witnessed violence, drug use, domestic violence, gang activity, my mother's struggle with mental health issues, and other illegal activities between my household and the outside world. My mother was left alone to raise me, my two sisters, and my little brother all by herself. I always remember telling her how much I just wanted her to unite with my father once again after his arrest. But my dreams as a child for a unified household of both parents never became a reality. My mother and my siblings are very special people to me. See how much pain I have caused them due to me being incarcerated made me realize how bad my decisions in life has affected the people that love and care about me. They all look up to me, and I just want to be a positive and influential role model for them. I was never there for them the way that they wanted me to be, and it hurts because I realize now how much they really love me. I want to be able to show how much I have grown and changed since that fateful day of my crime. And if afforded the opportunity to show how far I have come through this journey, I will most certainly demonstrate my change from the young, naive boy that I used to be to the responsible man that I have grown to be. When I was a child of around 7 and 8 years old, I witnessed my father being arrested for drug-related charges in 2003. He was sentenced to 78 months in prison. As a young child witnessing my father's arrest, I didn't realize how that one moment would affect the whole course of my life. I was too young to understand these sequence of events at that very moment. My father was my role model, and without his presence in the household, there wasn't any room for a stable family structure. I always wanted to do everything with him, like help him fix cars because he was a mechanic, go on joy rides with him, go to the parks, go shopping, play video games, and more. And although I never really got to experience all these things with him all the time, I would still be very happy and ecstatic when I finally did get to have those good moments because I loved him and he was my hero. One thing that I came to realize as I got older about my childhood was that I never had the emotional support that I needed as a child. Part of my family dynamics growing up included uninvolved, which relates to the minimal emotion or practical involvement in the children's lives. In a situation like this, family members are neglected by a member that is either not present or is physically present, but does not give them the attention that they seek and pray for. That's how it was for me. Although I mostly got anything I wanted from my father, he wasn't always present all the time because he would barely be home at times due to his illegal activities. His inability to not be emotionally involved and show me how to do the right things was a big missing piece for me, and it was something that I know I needed and craved for. After my father's arrest, he did not participate in my life as much, and that affected me very badly. I hardly ever saw him, and I hated going to see him in prison when I was young. I started to struggle within the household, and I started dealing with my own mental health issues and substance abuse problems from a young age up until the tragic crime that I committed. started struggling in school and I required special education classes and individualized plans, but these methods were of no avail. I was required to be involved in many different treatment programs for substance abuse and mental health through both juvenile probation and parole. It was essential for me to attend various treatments between my childhood years that included Children's Center of Hamden, Wellpath, and Rushford Academy. During those months between the ages of 13 through 17, I was always in and out of different institutions. I was very problematic, impulsive, defiant, and part of the Department of Children and Families. These programs were in play to help me. However, it was something that I couldn't see when I was younger, and I never took advantage of the opportunities. I always used to feel lost and not loved for as a kid, and I even at times contemplated suicide. I felt like life was just not worth living. I even attempted one time when I was 11 to jump from a third-story window. I was upset because I couldn't see or have a relationship with my father. I was always acting out and seeking attention because I wanted to be accepted and loved by others. As I grew older, I would always attempt to try and fill that empty space within myself by surrounding myself around negative peers and environments that made me feel accepted. And it's part of the reason why I found myself incarcerated at this very moment. I lacked the ability to be responsible for my own actions, think for myself, be a leader, and more. I was a follower, and this led to me making many bad decisions that I refused to take responsibility for before, and that I now take full responsibility for now. As the years went by, I felt a lot of anger and hatred towards my father. I couldn't understand why he never made a good effort to remain present in my life after his post-conviction. He barely made an effort to spend any time with me, and he later ended up being addicted to hardcore drugs such as cocaine and heroin. On a few occasions, I would see him after his release, and I would witness him being high. This hurt me a lot because it was part of the reason why he wasn't at all involved in my life anymore like I wanted him to be. I wanted him to be a father to me, and I just wanted him to give me the familiar love that I so desperately needed as a child. And him being addicted to drugs caused a separation between us. I remember having feelings of not being good enough, of thinking what was wrong with me, of not having the fatherly love that I so desperately needed and wanted. I never wanted to forgive him for not being there for me growing up, and this in turn left me to experience emotions of bitterness and resentment towards everything. I always felt like I wasn't good enough, and this affected me so much that in the long run, it also ended up affecting my community and other people around me. I couldn't realize how my lack of guidance, development, anger, and hatred that I was experiencing at such a young age soon began to manifest itself through my impulsive and irrational actions that I was exhibiting as I grew older. During the beginning years of my incarceration at NYI, between 2013 to 2016, I was in a really dark place within myself. I didn't want to do anything with my life because I felt like my life was over due to the impactful crimes that I had just committed. I didn't want to be involved with programs, jobs, schooling, counseling, or anything of such sorts. I would often refuse these services available to me, although I would only go on a few occasions. I just wanted to just breeze by and do my time the way that I wanted to do it, which is very unproductive. I was just consuming my time with gambling, playing video games, playing sports, watching TV, etc. I would do these things to keep my mind occupied from focusing on my current situation at the moment. From 2014 to 2016, I had a couple of jobs and was sanctioned with 4 tickets. I was a detail worker in the housing unit I was in for about a few months until I quit because I just didn't have the motivation to work as much. I then became a main kitchen worker, and after a few months I got fired because I received an out-of-place ticket for talking through a window into another housing unit. My first ticket was for destruction of property on February 2014 for having a clothesline from a ripped bedsheet. My second one was for fighting on December 2014, in which I remained in segregation for 7 days. My third one was an out-of-place on November 2015 for talking into another unit through the window. And my last ticket was on February 2016 for a refusal of a program. Ever since then, I have been cleared from any other sanctions. In the year 2016, after my last ticket, I really started getting serious about my life. I came to accept the reality of my situation, and I wanted to make the most out of it. I was able to reach this point in my life because I had people that never gave up on me, and they kept pushing me to be better towards making a change. I had a school counselor called Ms. Capobianco and a special ed teacher called Ms. Sears, who helped motivate me to get my GED and pursue education. At first, I struggled because I didn't believe in myself. However, they believed in me. I remember those times when they would sit me down and tell me that they weren't going to let me sign out of school because I was capable of so much success. They pushed me to be resilient and not give up on my future. They showed me that they cared for me and my future. This made me feel important because I never really had much of that growing up. Shortly after, I started going to school more and attended all of my OAP programs that I needed to complete. I started to pursue education and promised myself that I would take all 4 GED tests one time without any retakes, and I was ready for the challenge that was ahead of me. I spent countless days and nights going to school, learning and studying in myself, and when the time came, the hard work paid off because I passed every test the very first try. After I completed all of my tests, I was eligible for a graduation ceremony in 2017, and this day was very special to me because I accomplished something good in my life. This was my first initial step into a brighter future. It felt good walking across the stage and receiving my GED diploma in front of my family and the people that helped me in my educational success. There was no limit to what I could achieve anymore, and I never looked back since that day. Shortly after, I got another job as a detail worker in another housing unit I was in. I started attending culinary arts as a vocational, doing more programs, and I continued on the path of education and work. Soon after, I was then transferred from MYI to Cheshire CI because I was selected to be a part of the TRUE program on October 2nd, 2017. I have been fortunate enough to participate in the TRUE program, which stands for Truthfulness, Respectfulness, Understanding, and Elevating. I've been part of this 18 to 25-year-old program in the Cheshire facility since October 2nd, 2017, and I've been blessed to be afforded the opportunity to start off as a mentee, then into a junior mentor, and now into a full-time mentor. This program has been instrumental in my process of rehabilitation. Truthfulness and empathy within the TRUE program as a whole has particularly been transformative for me. It has allowed me to understand and feel the depth of the distress I caused, and it is a lesson I will carry forward in my life. Respect is another cornerstone of the TRUE program. I've learned to respect not only the rules and norms of society, but also the intrinsic value of every individual. This taught me to appreciate the rights and feelings of others, which I overlooked at the time of my crime. Understanding and elevating are about recognizing one's fault and constantly striving to be better. I was encouraged to continually seek knowledge and self-improvement. When I first arrived in this program, I started off as a mentee with 9 other guys. There was 10 in total. We had 2 mentors assigned to us, and we were the 5th group to arrive in the TRUE program. We were known as E Group. God in this program has helped me find my true potential and purpose of a writer and mentor. And while in this program, the staff, mentors, and myself have worked endlessly to ensure that I have a bright future for myself outside these prison walls. Every day that I remain incarcerated reminds me of what it means to appreciate life and others around me. A big moment in my life was in the year of 2018 while in this program. As a young man of 23 years old, through the strength of the Lord and my mom, I was able to finally muster up the courage within myself to reach out to my father and have a conversation with him on my childhood and the reason for his absence. I remember feeling a sense of relief after the conversation I had with my father. And from thereafter, I really started to understand what it meant to truly forgive, let go, and start over. My father told me things about his childhood that made me understand him better and the decisions he made. His sense of motherlessness, violence, poverty, addiction with drugs were all factors that contributed to his poor decision-making throughout the course of his life as well. It wasn't that he didn't love me. It was just that he was so caught up in his own pain and trauma that he didn't know how to express love to me in a healthy manner as his child. Neither did he understand what love itself entailed. Through those experiences, I've been able to learn many valuable lessons in life that have made me see things from a more positive angle. I have learned how to be vulnerable and embrace my feelings as a man and not a young boy. I've learned the value of education, forgiveness, freedom, good decision-making, family, community, humanity, and more. Throughout my time in prison, I've wished that it didn't take my crime and incarceration to be able to get me to understand things more clearly about life the way that I do. However, these experiences in my life has made me the man that I am today, and it has made me aware of never putting others or my community as a whole in harm's way ever again. And I thank the Lord for always watching over me and guiding my every step throughout this journey. I have engaged in numerous workshops and programming focusing on empathy, conflict resolution, and accountability. One of the programs that has helped me with my change is called Reflections. Reflections contain a lot of useful information that has helped me realize the importance of life, and it taught me how to be more cognizant when it comes to my thoughts, decisions, and feelings of others. The most important session for me in this program was session 10. Session 10 was about accepting your past and changing your future. I learned that accepting my past means accepting myself for who I am. I learned that I can never change my past, but accepting it for what it is will prevent me from looking in the rearview mirror while trying to move forward in my life. This will in turn allow me to focus on all the endless possibilities ahead as I'm envisioning my future and selecting the best road to get there. There's 3 things that I needed to do. First, I needed to identify the areas in my life that were in need of change. Second, I needed to have a vision in my mind of what change looks like. And third, I needed to know how do I make the transformation from where I used to be, where I am now, and where I desire to be. Another program that has taught me some things about myself was anger management. Anger management has taught me how to be aware of my triggers, along with teaching me steps that I could take to control my anger. It's taught me how to channel my anger to something positive, such as writing poetry and talking about my feelings in a proper manner rather than being impulsive. I was able to learn that anger is a second emotion, and it's important to learn how to keep it under control. I learned about different coping mechanisms, such as taking deep breaths, meditation, exercise, listening to music, or talking to someone you trust. I practice these things every single day that I remain incarcerated, and I can honestly say that they work. Voices was also a very profound program that helped me understand the impact of my crime on the victim as well as the community. I was able to learn how to describe victims of crimes and learn about the high rate of crime through statistical analysis. I was also able to understand what these crimes entailed, discuss the long and short-term effects on victims, as well as acknowledging the impact left on loved ones and community. This program sat well for me in many ways because it helped me reflect on my crime from which I am incarcerated. It helped me view the impact that poor decisions can have not just on yourself, but also on the community and the lives of others. Understanding how I've impacted others outside of myself through the decisions that I've made gave me a crucial sense of awareness that I needed in order to help me navigate through life accordingly. These sessions have taught me to recognize the impact of my actions and have given me the tools to think before I act. Conflict resolution was also another program that helped further equip my conflict management skills as well. I was able to acquire a sense of awareness about intergroup behavior, and I was able to learn how to identify factors that contribute to conflict situations in everyday life and recognize symptoms of conflict. I learned how to be able to identify the 5 stages of conflict, which are latent, perceived, felt, manifest, and conflict outcome. I was able to see how these conflicts has played a part in my life in the past, present, and my future. I was able to acquire an understanding that there is always a potential for conflict at any given moment, and how important it is to become aware of a problem at hand and understand the incompatibilities in an attempt to reach a good solution. I was able to learn how to be aware of my emotions in a current situation and tackle them in a positive manner by having a balanced view of the situation and finding ways to make more collaborative efforts. I was able to develop the ability to use interpersonal conflict styles correctly to differentiate between functional and dysfunctional conflict. And by recognizing conflict early before frustration occurs, one can achieve a positive collaboration that can lead to win-win situations. I've taken the liberty to extend my knowledge of life and education within these prison walls. I've been blessed and provided with the opportunity to become close to the Lord, be educated, seek counseling, and more. I've accomplished many things, such as receiving my GED, finding my career path, which lies in mentoring, interest in being an electrician or HVAC technician, writing poetry, which has led to my first completed book called Love, Dreams, and Heartbreaks, which is now available on Amazon, and my involvement as a student in the Wesleyan Middlesex College program, in which I've had the privilege in earning an associate's degree in general studies science. I also created my own program called Building and Restoring Relationships Through Love and Communication that I facilitate. And upon release, I would like to facilitate this program in my community. I successfully completed all of my DOC programming up to date, such as anger management, good intentions, bad choices, tier 2, voices, conflict resolution, and more. I participated in many jobs within the Department of Corrections. Such jobs consisted of me being a detail worker, commercial cleaning worker, commissary worker, administration worker, cleaning the offices of warden, deputy warden, and mental health workers, and I am now currently employed as a machine operator in the market shop industries that consists of making Connecticut license plates. I have been in the market shop industry for 3.5 years now, and I enjoy working hard, doing the right thing, staying focused, and mentoring others. I'm dedicated to becoming a better person every day, not just for my sake, but for the sake of the community and everyone around me. I understand that my journey of redemption is long and ongoing, and I'm committed to making the most of the second chance. I know that words alone cannot undo the harm I've caused. My actions moving forward will speak louder than any letter can. However, I hope that through this letter you can see my deep remorse and my commitment to change. As I continue on this path of rehabilitation and reintegration into society, I remain fully aware of the responsibilities that lie ahead. It is a path I choose to walk with humility and a deep commitment to proving that I have changed. I understand that rebuilding trust takes time and consistent effort, and I'm prepared to put in the work required. Part of my commitment to change involves ongoing involvement with attending church services with my family, community services, and support groups such as Community Partners in Actions in Hartford, Connecticut, CCAR and CCAR, Connecticut Community for Addiction Recovery. CCAR has assigned me a recovery coach, and her name is Ana Maria Isaza. And since being in contact with her, she has been of great help and has offered to help with jobs, training, housing, and other resources upon reentry. The workplace is another reentry resource that I will also take advantage of as well, and is located throughout Connecticut, or mainly Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I will be in touch with the American Job Centers as well. I intend to go to Lincoln Tech in New Britain, Connecticut for a trade in electrical work or HVAC. Having my associate's degree before my release will qualify me to automatically be admitted into the electrical trade class because I will have a degree from an accredited institution, which means that I won't have to take the admissions test because my degree will automatically qualify me. This was also a big reason why I took advantage of being enrolled in Wesleyan Middlesex College courses. I also plan to continue my engagement with programs similar to the True program even after my release. Engaging with these groups not only helps me to stay on a path of personal growth and accountability, but allows me to contribute to the community in a positive way. I want to help others avoid mistakes I've made, and I believe that by sharing my journey, I can deter others from following a similar path. I also want to give back to the community directly affected by my actions, whether it's through more volunteer work, community service, book publishing, or public speaking engagements about the importance of decision-making and second chances, which I'm highly interested in doing once I'm released. I'm committed to making a tangible, positive impact. In conclusion, this letter of apology is just one step in my long journey towards making amends. I'm committed to living out my apology through my actions every day. I'm fully aware that my future actions must demonstrate my remorse and my dedication to being a better member of society. Once again, I deeply regret the pain and trouble I've caused. Thank you for considering my apology and for your potential role in helping me navigate this path to a better and more responsible life. Sincerely, William Ramirez.
Okay, Mr. Ramirez, thank you for that statement. We did have much of that information that was sent to us already, but we certainly appreciate your input and putting it all on the record for us. This panel has reviewed your file extensively in addition to correspondence from Attorney Wheeler and social worker Habib. Did I say it right? Habib. Okay. So we're very familiar with your case. We do have some questions. When we're done with our questions, we'll hear from the Office of Victim Services and any input that they have. And then your attorney and the state's attorney will have the opportunity to speak. We'll deliberate and make our decision here today. Okay?
Okay. And this is live.
You ended your statement with, I believe, thank you for accepting my apology. That's not our job here. I don't know who that was directed to. I'm not sure the victim, well, the surviving victim or the victim's family would accept your apology. That's not our role here. Our role here is to determine whether you're suitable for release at this time, given Public Act 1584. And I'm not sure, you did have 2 robbery victims. I'm not sure you mentioned the other one, but you know, both were just very difficult to read about, if I'm being honest, Mr. Ramirez. These were just unwarranted acts of violence on perfect strangers. And I can't imagine what the victim who died as a result and his family went through. Not sure if you're aware of the details of exactly what happened to him, but this went on for some time, and he really suffered, before he passed, and there was probably a time when he and his family thought they were going to be okay. But for me, it was just hard to imagine in reading this, just the lack of caring for a human life, what you did to him. That and you spelled out some of the details yourself, but can't imagine not for 1 second feeling bad when you were committing these crimes. So definitely feel for the victims and the victim's family in this case. You were 17 years old at the time, so I understand, and you've explained, and we read about some of your history and where you were in that period of your life. You mentioned your co-defendant, Kevin. It's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, you only knew him for a few weeks?
Yes, that's correct.
And how did you meet?
Mutual friends, where we used to hang out at.
Okay. So in your explanation of the offense, your detailing of it, you really portrayed yourself as the primary aggressor. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So how did he get more time than you then?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, could be that they considered your age at the time of sentencing, and Kevin is 3 years older than you, so he was 20 years old when you were 17 at the time of this offense. I'm sorry.
We have information that Mr. Ramirez helped the prosecution of the co-defendant that they might otherwise not have.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Thank you. Sure. Thank you for reminding me of that. Okay. So 15 years really is a light sentence, right? For a loss of life. In addition to that, you're earning what, 4 days a month for credit time?
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. But anyhow, so 1584 brings us here today. You certainly have taken advantage of all of your time in the facility, and you described all the things that you learned from your programming. One of my biggest questions was when exactly you turned it all around in your mind, and I think you spelled that out for us as well. We can see the turning point, and of course, you haven't had any disciplinary reports since 2016. You were still very young, so I'm curious to know how and why you decided to mentor and become part of the True Unit.
So when I first came into the program, my mentors, I was looking up to them, and they showed me.
I'm going to back up a little. How did you even learn of the program and decide to? You have to apply to get into that program, right?
Yes.
Okay, how'd that happen?
I was in NYI, and the counselor at the time that was there, she was coming up to do a tour in the True program, and she was telling us about it. And I felt like that was a good opportunity for me at the time because I was already on that path. I had just gotten my GED. I started to turn my life around at that time, and I wanted to take more advantage of that. And so I asked her, I was like, when you go up there, would you mind having a conversation with the people up there and, how the application process worked? I wanted to learn more about it because I wanted to continue on the path of growth and development and change. And when she came back, she had an application for me for a few of us, and I signed it out and I filled it out, and then I gave it to her, and then I had to wait the process. And then on October 2nd, 2017, it probably took maybe a few months that I had to wait. And then I got accepted into the True program. So that's how that process went. And then that's when I went there on October 2nd, 2017.
Okay. So you were transferred specifically to enter the True Unit?
Yes, that's correct.
Wow. And how many people are in the True Unit now?
It's a lot because we have two sides. So we have North 5 and North 6. So maybe around 100, around there maybe.
100. How many do you mentor?
I have a group of 4 individuals. It started off with 10 individuals. So as mentors, we get our selective group that we get to be a part of. And right now we have 4 individuals because certain individuals go home or they don't, or things happen within the program and stuff like that. So they get removed for whatever reason. But as of right now, I have 4 individuals. I have a called W group, and I have 4 individuals that I mentor, along with another mentor.
Okay. Within the True unit, how often would you say fights break out?
No fights at all.
Just
no fights.
You've never seen a fight? What about conflict, arguments?
Yes, there are conflicts, there are arguments, and we have these things called conflict circles. And I'm a mediator of a conflict circle. So my job is when a conflict happens, we take these guys to like a back room and we record them. And we have like 2 staff members there, the individuals involved in the conflict, and then you have the mediator, the liaison who interferes to the conflict. And the whole process is we try to get to the root of the conflict and why individuals feel the way that they feel. So one individual will speak and they'll say how they feel about the situation. Then another individual will speak and they say how they feel about their situation. And whoever was involved in the conflict needs to be present. And then at the end, after everybody says what they need to say and the mediator gets involved and try to understand what happened with the whole situation, then at the end they come to an agreement as to how they're going to be able to function in the community that they're in. Because eventually after that, they have to deal with each other because they got to deal with being in programs together, doing events together, doing different activities. And so after that, then we come to a conclusion and then they agree upon, well, you know, I'm gonna go about it this way. We're gonna go about it this way, and most times it ends up very well. You know, they shake hands, they hug each other. It was just a misunderstanding. It was just in the heat of the moment, and it happens. And so that's usually how that process goes.
When's the last time you had an argument with someone?
It's been a while. It's been a long time. Me as an individual, I've learned how to be able to properly communicate more effectively without being offensive, without being aggressive, without being an aggressor. Because for me, it's all about communication. It's all about understanding the situation. It's all about understanding the individual's feelings, understanding what led us to that situation. And so I usually don't get into arguments. I usually just, we come to the individual, we sit down, we have a talk. Because I feel like that's always the right resort to handle a situation instead of everybody being heated in the moment or everybody being caught up being angry and things like that. So, but it's been a while for me.
And how often do you talk about your offense? The fact that you took someone's life.
So when people ask me, like when my mentees and ask me about my situation. And things like that. Those are usually conversations that I have with them. You know, when they ask me certain questions and I tell them about the bad decisions that I've made, I told them about, the impact that it's left on the community and loved ones and things like that. And I use my story and I share my story, not in a glorified way because I'm not proud of what I did.
No, of course not.
I'm embarrassed and ashamed of what I did. And so, but I use my story to try to help them prevent from making the same mistakes, to show them a better way, to show them a better path. And so, and to let them know, like, if you continue on this path, if you continue on this mindset, that you could potentially be, in a situation where you're doing big time, and things like that, or you could harm somebody in a very bad way as I have. So I use my story in a sense to be able to help those individuals make better choices and decisions.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I appreciate your openness and your honesty. I think you could help people, especially out in the community. And regardless of what we do here today, your sentence ends in 2 years and you'll still be very young. So you have the opportunity to go out there and make a difference in the community so that others can avoid this path that you took and maybe spare some other victims and their families the pain that you caused. I did read about all of your plans for the future. You have a lot of support. You received excellent evaluations, by the way, for your programming and work throughout the community. thought I read somewhere that you even use CCAR as a job on the outside. Is that right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Did you do the professional portion of the program?
Not yet, because we're
Okay.
limited with the type of resources that we could get from them.
Yeah.
But I am working with my recovery coach.
Okay. All right. And you have a girlfriend for support, although she lives in another state, right?
Yes.
There was some discrepancy. I know you mentioned your mom and the struggles when you were growing up, and now she's a support of yours. I thought I read somewhere that there was some abuse there when you were a child.
Yes.
Did you? Okay. So you found a way to overcome that?
Yes. As I grew older and I started really understanding things about my life and reflecting on the things that I've been through, and just understanding, different concepts of even my own parents. They've had their struggles. They've had the things that they've dealt with. And even though they didn't deal with things more efficiently all the time, a lot of it is because they didn't really have the tools to know how to do so, and to be able to properly, show love and care the way that, I needed it growing up. However, when me learning these things, learning about these different concepts, I was able to kind of make amends with that. And I was able to move on and, understand them and still love them and forgive them for everything, because they've always loved me. And my mom always took good care of me, 4 children by herself, supporting us, having a roof over our heads, making sure that we were okay. So it wasn't easy on her either. And doing the things that I was doing at that age, I wasn't making it easy on her either. I was giving her, stressing her out and giving her headaches and doing all these things. So, so I'm able to, I love my family. I love my mom for everything she's ever done for me. And so, I'm able to make amends with those things and move forward in my life. And I give all the glory to God as well.
Okay. All right. Well, you certainly have grown. I can see the growth in you, and you have educated yourself. An associate's degree from Wesleyan means a lot in the community. I hope you understand that. You don't squander that. You really should continue with your education if you can when you're released. The group that you created in the True unit, I read about that. How often is that group facilitated?
So it was originally is one group a day. It's for about an hour. Sometimes it goes a little bit more, depending how the conversations are going. It's 8 sessions. So it usually go about 2.5 months, 2 months. And so, for example, the first session we'll go over like family dynamics, and then we go over trust. Then we go over fatherlessness and motherlessness. Then we go over honesty. So we go different sessions, and I have a whole curriculum. I have a packet that I give ahead of time, so the individuals could read up on the information, we could read. And then when we get to the program, we share each other's thoughts, we share each other's emotions, we share what we got from the group, from the programs, from the things that we read. And so it just becomes a collaborative effort. It becomes a great group dynamic. And so, we're able to bounce off each other's ideas. We're able to learn from each other. Sometimes it's hard because we dive into childhood traumas, childhood events and things like that. And so to make those individuals, the young brothers in there, make them feel comfortable, I share my story. I let them know where I've been, how I was at a young age, the things that I've experienced, kind of to give them the boost that they need to be able to know that they're not alone. So that's kind of what the whole program revolves around. It's just love and communication, showing them love, showing them care, showing them support. Because most of them are things that they didn't have growing up. And so I want to be able to show them that even though they didn't have those things growing up, they could learn about those things and they could apply those things to their life, and they could help other people do so as well. So
yeah, that's great. I appreciate that your group is helping others too. Have you thought about where you might be today if you didn't commit these offenses?
Yeah, I've thought about that a lot. And, me being here and going through these situations and going through the experience that I've been through, it made me who I am today. It helped me accomplish the things that I've accomplished. And of course, with the support and the help that I've had along the way, that was big for me as well. But honestly, I don't know where I'll be. I don't know if I'll be in the same situation. I don't know if I'll either be dead or worse, with a bigger sentence, or but I'm grateful that I am where I am today, and I'm grateful for the people that I got in my life never giving up on me.
You'll be out soon. After your sentence, you have 5 years probation. Do you have any reservations, or do you think you'll have any challenges? Do you worry about any of that?
I know, being gone for so long, being in here, it's gonna take a while to kind of reintegrate back into society and get adjusted back to the norms, and back to how society functions. Because I know it's a different world from what it was 11 and a half years ago with technology and all these things advancing. However, I think those things, the transition a little bit, just getting back into society slowly. I think it'll be some challenges, it'll be some obstacles. However, it's all about facing them. It's all about moving forward. It's all about just taking one thing at a time, one step at a time, and just with the support and the love that I have from the people that's willing to support me and help me, I will take advantage of that as well. So I know it'll make my road a little easier.
All right, thank you for speaking with me. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Berry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Ramirez, I appreciate all the work that you've been doing to help other people there in the facility. It really does sound as if you've taken the time to work on yourself, not because you were expecting to be released early, but because you realized and recognized that you really had to do something to change the trajectory of your own life. As the chair mentioned, this crime it's very concerning. I just couldn't even imagine, this young man was out having, some drinks, and walking home, doing the responsible thing by walking home and not driving, and just happened to be a victim of circumstance, just coincidence. It was very, very concerning to read. I heard you talking about the True unit, and again, I appreciate the work that you're doing there. Has anyone under your mentorship graduated the program?
So it's kind of hard to graduate the program because some individuals do graduate, depending on how much time that they have. It's usually a 2-year program. So right now, the group that I have, they're new. They've only been there for 6 months. And so they still have a whole 18 months left to go to kind of graduate the program. However, some individuals don't have the time to graduate it completely because some individuals go home. Some individuals get removed for whatever reason. So that's kind of how it goes at times. But we do have graduates in the program. But as of right now, my group of guys, no, they haven't graduated yet.
Have you seen any of the people that have been mentored return to that unit? In 7 years, you've been there a long time. So
no, I haven't. Yes, I have seen mentors that have left and came back. Speak with us. Tell us about their success stories.
I'm talking about the mentees, like the
mentees.
Yes.
Oh, as far as they come back to the True unit, once they leave, they come back to the True unit.
Once they participate, however long they've been in there. Say you said these people were 6 months, and maybe they're released because their sentence is over. Do you ever see them come back with a new case or?
Yes. I've seen individuals come back with new cases and new situations. However, they don't come back into the True unit. Okay. So when they come back, they go to a general population or something like that. So.
And do you ever have an opportunity to speak with any of those people to see where things went wrong or how that program could have improved the chances of their not returning?
So usually sometimes, depending if they're in the facility or not, sometimes, the staff or the lieutenants, bring them to the office, we'll talk to them, see what happens. So we're always engaged, we're always engaging with these guys, communicating with these guys, making sure, see where everything went wrong and things like that. So, but that's the discretion of like the lieutenants and things like that.
I would just think that being in such a program with so many moving parts that you would always be working towards improving it. And where are we a little weak, or where could we be a little stronger to increase the chances of these people coming in the program and being released, being successful. So I know that ultimately that's your goal. So I thought that maybe that was just a discussion. Is there anything in there that you guys have talked about or people aren't really, or people say that needs to be improved?
Yes. Everything has challenges, everything has obstacles. So we're always constantly improving, when it comes to working together with the mentors, with the staff, with the counselors, making sure finding the best solutions for these group of guys, 18 to 25-year-olds, making sure that we get them the programming that they need, making sure that they get the support and the love that they need. One of the main priorities that we do up there is that we always push these guys to get their GED. So schooling is a main priority, programming is a main priority. So we're always having those conversations. We're always coming up in new ways of doing new things, finding new ways to be able to get more of these individuals involved. So we do have our meetings a few times a week. The mentors get together, the staff get together. We have our meetings and we come up with different solutions on how to better the program.
Good. I read somewhere that you met your co-defendant in MYI. Is that right?
No, I came home from MYI, and that's when I met him.
So you were out in the community, and
yes.
You guys, and you were the one that propositioned him with, okay, let's rob some people.
Yes.
And have you seen him crossing paths since you've been there? No. Okay. And I wanted to talk about the victim piece just a little, because, oftentimes where we have people come and sit before us and they've done well, such as yourself. I mean, honestly, to be down for 12 years and have 4 tickets, it is really, I'm going to say, unique. We don't see it very often. People come before us and they just can't seem to comply with the facility rules. What do you think? What information could you offer to the deceased victim's family and the victim that survived to make them feel a little more comfortable about your returning out into the community? What information do you do? I mean, they'll never be made whole. You know what I mean? So you can't say, well, I'm sorry, because I'm sorry. That doesn't fix everything. These people, every holiday, I'm sure, every birthday, every anniversary of the death, they're constantly reminded that his life was cut short. So what do you think you could say to them that would provide some level of comfort that when you're back out in the community, they don't really have to worry about you?
The information that I feel that I could give is leading by example. I say that by doing the things that I've been doing since I've been incarcerated. I understand the gravity of what I've done, and that's been my motivation to be a better person. It's been my motivation to be a better man. And so through my actions and the things that I've done, because I understand that words alone are nothing if you're not producing any actions behind it. And so the biggest thing that I could offer is me going out into the community and continuing my work of mentorship, continuing my work of commitment to change, continuing my work of bettering myself and growing and developing through my actions by leading by example. I feel like that's the biggest thing. And that's something that I have to do each and every day, that I've been doing each and every day. And that's something that I've committed myself to doing because I understand the gravity of the situation, and I feel like for me, that's big because I feel like I have to be able to, people are always watching me. People are always looking, even when you think people are not looking, people are always looking. And so I'm always aware that
that's real, right
the
there.
way that I conduct myself and the way that I move forward in my life, that's going to say a lot because actions speak louder than words. And so I feel like, me going out into the community and doing all the things that I've set myself to do, I feel like that will be really big. And I will back up, be producing those type of works and producing those type of actions that will speak values.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Manager.
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
So, Mr. Ramirez, you mentioned in your opening statement that you aspire to be a productive member of society. And we hear that a lot from individuals before us looking for released to parole. Can you tell me what that means to you? Because it seems to mean something different to most everyone.
So for me, it was kind of about how I was elaborating about, my mentorship, my actions behind everything that I've been doing. For me, it means dedication, it means commitment, it means change, it means humanity, it means value. And so when I think about those concepts and I think about those words, I think about going out there and helping people. Not being a liability, but being an asset, because throughout my whole life when I was out in the community and I was growing up, I was a liability. I was causing destruction. I was causing all these different things. I was causing harm. And
what else does a productive member of society look like to you?
For me, a productive member of society is someone who handles their business, who stands on business, who continuously seek to improve, who continuously seek to grow and develop, and who continues to seek to help others achieve their dreams as well.
Okay, so would you add to that law abiding?
Yes.
Tax paying?
Yes. Working hard, going to school, doing the things that you need to do in order to be able to provide for yourself and your family.
But participating in community.
Yes.
Registering to vote, getting a library card.
Yes.
Making sure you don't drive without a driver's license, and all of those things that we do as adults that show our respect for the concept of society being a community in which we live and interact with other people.
Yes.
So, okay. And you had mentioned volunteer work in your opening statement, so I know that's part of that definition for you. You talked about recognizing that your crimes had an impact on the community, and these were two different assaultive acts that took place like 6 days apart or something. What do you think Waterbury, the citizens of Waterbury felt and the impact it had on them, hearing in the nightly news about these random assaults?
I will say that they felt scared. I would say that they felt unsafe. I would say that they felt just afraid.
Anxious?
Yes, anxious, nauseous, all these different feelings. Being able to just seeing those things and just thinking to yourself, I can't even go out and have a walk. I can't even go out and do this because I have to worry about all these things going on. And so I'm pretty sure
stay home and isolate and not participate in supporting my community because danger is out there.
Yes.
We haven't touched on, and I wanted to recognize that in the reports that we have, there was some targeting done of the people that you victimized. You had indicated that you were out to rob a Muslim dude in one case. And then in another case, the individual was on his way into a mosque when you guys rushed up on him from behind and assaulted him. So the point of this is that there was a particular community that was severely impacted by the choices that you and your co-defendant made. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I understand, the community's definitely been impacted by those decisions. It was reckless, it was shameful, it was embarrassing, and just putting those people at risk like that, putting them at harm like that, it made me realize that I really needed to do a lot of change within myself. And I understand that, with the police being involved and the people coming together, like they were frightened, they were scared, they were afraid because of what just took place.
Well, because they felt targeted.
Yes.
For the violence that you inflicted on individual members of those communities in Waterbury. Okay, yes. So there was, there's a targeting, and that's, perhaps fueled by racism, by other stereotypes and perceptions that you might have had, biases that you carried inside yourself that you would choose to target a Muslim dude, as you described it. Okay. So in the work that you do in the True Unit and in the efforts that you'll make going forward to make amends and give back, I would encourage you to talk to people about the harm and the risk to punching another person in the head. Because we often read cases where a punch to the head, the person falls, hits their head on a curb, and dies. Now, the intent wasn't to kill the person, but you never know what a punch to someone's head could do to them. You never know if they have underlying conditions that could be dramatically aggravated by a punch to the head. And in this case, with Mr. Negron, I just want to make sure that you are aware. I don't know if it was the punch to the head, the subsequent kicking, but he had a skull fracture. He had a brain bleed. He died of blunt head trauma. And this is, you know, your actions that day put him in a coma. You know, so we are really talking, you know, we're really talking, it doesn't get more serious than that. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. And you I would assume, believe yourself to be a poet.
Yes.
You've published, okay. So you know that words matter. And I'm sure when you're crafting a poem, you're looking for the exact word and you're tossing out things that don't quite capture the feeling or the point that you're trying to make, right?
Yes.
Okay. So twice in your opening statement, you referred to your crimes as a mistake. And I want to challenge you on that, because these were choices that you made to target individuals and commit a crime. Not a mistake. No more than punching somebody in the head and having them hit their head on a curb would be an accident. You also said in your opening statement that at the time you felt nothing, that you were selfish, and that you didn't recognize your involvement in the tragic death of Mr. Negron. And I would encourage you to look for a more accurate word than involvement. You know, that along with mistake are gross minimizations of what you were doing out there in Waterbury at the time at a very young age. And the consequences are what you're living right now. I do want to recognize and tell you that I personally appreciate at sentencing that you apologized. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes victims wait decades to get the apology. And the fact that you offered it, that you participated with the prosecution, that you stepped up and began trying to make amends then, especially at a young age, facing a significant sentence. I'm certain that wasn't an easy thing to do, but it was the right thing to do. And I think it was the beginning of the necessary change in you. So that's all I wanted to talk to Mr. Ramirez about. I wish you much success going forward, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. Okay, this time we'll hear from the Office of Victim Services. Ms. Hamlet-Williams, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for having me. I do have the mother of the victim's children who would like to address the board today. One moment.
So my clock right here that shows is California time. Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz, for pointing that out. If you think it's live, if you don't think it's live, that's nor here nor there. It don't matter. So he's in prison for red rum. I guess they're not able to connect. Hey, thank you. And I'll go ahead and take this moment. If you haven't done so, please do so. If you guys could go ahead and hit that follow button, it's free 99, doesn't cost you anything, and it would help us definitely grow here on TT. Also, we're running a simultaneous stream. We're running this on YT. It's also the same name at CollectCallFrom. Really appreciate if you guys go ahead and jump over there and follow there. We're definitely trying to grow.
Thank you. You may begin with your statement.
Good morning. I am the ex-girlfriend and mother of Carmelo Negron's child. I would like to thank the board for allowing me to speak on behalf of Carmelo's family. The last years have been full of sadness. His actions that day resulted in years of my child struggling with her mental, physical, and emotional health. Resulting in many hours of counseling, impacting school and everyday living. Carmelo has missed out on 10 grandchildren, and they have missed out the experience of having him as a grandfather. I am requesting he completes his sentence. In my opinion, it's the least that can be done for Carmelo's life being taken. I too have dealt with emotional, financial, and mental struggles since his passing, trying to raise a child that does not understand the why of Ramirez actions. Just like Ramirez did not have a father, now my kid does not have one. Ramirez can probably have a better life with him, and he probably found his forgiveness, but guess what? My children will never be able to. I thank you for the time and hope that the justice continues to be heard. Because just like his father was his role model, my daughter's role model and hero was Carmelo Negron. And his actions were choices, not mistakes. And I leave it at that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your statement. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you.
At this time, the attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We will now turn it over to the state's attorney. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, I'd like to start by thanking the parole board for this opportunity to address you today on this very serious matter. I'd like to remind the board this is not one, but two robberies, one of which did end in the death of Carmelo Negron. Mr. Negron was minding his own business when the defendant and his co-defendant beat and kicked him to death. While the victim did die later from these injuries, it was a horrific time for the family. It was a senseless crime, and this defendant did acknowledge that he was the driving force behind the death. The transcript reflects that the defendant was already given consideration based on his age and cooperation with the state's attorney's office. Consideration was given in the charges and the right to argue. The max sentence was 40 years after 20 years to serve with 5 years probation. Again, due to the consideration of the defendant's age and the cooperation with the state's attorney's office, he was sentenced to 20 years after 15 years to serve with 5 years probation. This is considerably light for a crime resulting in the death of another. The state believes that the offer was fair and that any robbery is bad, but this was a heinous death case. The victim expressed outrage in the pre-sentence investigation, and the family was traumatized by the manner of death which occurred. The state feels that the offer was fair and objects to any alteration of the agreed upon sentence.
Thank you. Thank you. We will now turn it over to the public defender who wish to proceed.
Yes, please. Members of the board, thank you for the opportunity to be heard by you today. I want to start by mentioning something that I know the board spoke to Mr. Ramirez about. He used words such as mistake, involvement, and I genuinely do not believe that is because he is minimizing what he did or the actions or the consequences that came from it. The consequence was the loss of someone's life. And the loss, there is nothing that can, no number that can be put on someone's life. No number of years, no amount of punishment. You cannot define somebody's life by that. And it is not that he is minimizing what he has done or the pain he has caused. More so that he has worked for the past 12 years to become the best version of himself. He has done everything in his power to become a completely different person than the person he was at 17 years old. And those words reflect the struggle within himself that he has returning himself to that day. However, he understands how important it is that he does return to that day and constantly remember the person he was, the young man who found himself in that situation, who made those decisions and behaved that way so that he never finds himself in a similar situation again. He is a young man that sits before all of us today with a heavy heart for what he has done. He is genuinely sorry for his actions. And I know that from the past year of conversations with him, as well as all of the things he has done while he has been incarcerated. The change he decided to make in 2016 and every day moving forward. He is genuinely sorry for the insurmountable pain he has caused, the unbelievable loss that what he stole from the victims realistically is time with a father, a grandfather, a family member that they love. He himself has experienced not having a father, so he understands not having that father figure, and he permanently took that away from someone else, and he is fully aware of that. There is no number of apologies, there is no amount of remorse that will ever make up what Mr. Ramirez stole from Mr. Negron and his family, and he understands that. He understands the gravity and the permanence of his actions, and through his actions since his incarceration, he has taken responsibility and accountability for that, and he continues to do so each day. As a result of his actions, this young man has spent his entire 20s calling Cheshire Correctional Institution home. However, during that time, he is wholeheartedly committed to change. He promised himself that he would do everything in his power to become the best possible version of himself. And he has detailed that better than I can throughout his opening statement. But to summarize, he's done every program that has been offered. And as you heard from him, he didn't just sit there. He didn't just go because he had to, but he actually participated and he took it seriously and he took away everything that he could from those programs. And then he continued to use what he learned in those programs to conduct himself in that manner and teach others to do the same. He even created his own program because he genuinely wants to help others. He's part of the TRUE program, which he's been part of for 7 years, even though from my understanding, he could have graduated from that program after 2 and just continued on his way. But instead, he became a junior mentor and he is now a mentor. It's something that he is passionate about and hopes to continue doing upon his release to the community. He's received his GED and associate's degree, and he has no plans of stopping there. He has further plans of continuing his education, being a productive member of society, which includes entering the workforce and getting in pursuing a career in either HVAC or as an electrician. He has maintained numerous jobs throughout his period of incarceration. He knows the importance of working hard and what hard work can bring you and how that will productively contribute to society on the outside. It productively contributes to his society that he has or is part of within the prison institution. He has also managed to stay out of trouble and ticket free for the past 9 years, which in these types of places is extremely rare and difficult, as the board knows. He wrote and published a book, and he has found his religion. He's done everything that he possibly can within these walls. He has taken advantage of every single possible opportunity he's been given to better himself, and he has availed himself of all the Department of Corrections has to offer. And it's not only what he has done during his incarceration, but what he plans to do upon his release. He has grand goals. He's very goal oriented, and he has these great plans for the future. He wants to continue to mentor others. He wants to help heal and give back to the community that he's harmed. He wants to prevent other people from making the same choices that he did, from ending up here. Mr. Ramirez wants to continue pursuing his education at Lincoln Tech. He plans to prioritize his family, who I've personally met, and they are an incredible support system to William. He will have a stable home where religion is fundamental, and he can continue his religious growth as well as his growth in the community with that necessary support. I truly believe that William has fulfilled his promise to become the best version of himself, and yet he will tell you that there is always room for improvement, because that's who he is. Today, tomorrow, and every day after that, he will continue to strive to do better. He is a leader and a mentor. He is an intelligent individual, and he's a thoughtful young man. The William that sits before you all today is an entirely different person than the 17-year-old who committed these crimes. And they are atrocious. They are heinous, and he will never disagree with those descriptions of that. But he will make sure that he is never in a position to He'll never be in a position where those choices are even a possibility. And he will work for the rest of his life to make sure that he can prevent as many other people from being in a position where that's a possibility. He genuinely cares about others. And I think that this period of incarceration has given him the insight and the ability to realize how important humanity is, how important an individual's life is, and how many lives he ruined with the choices he made, not just his own, but Mr. Negron's, his family's, his 10 grandchildren that never got to meet him. This one decision or two decisions that he made had a lasting impact and effect that will forever be present, and he will always have to accept that and strive to never be back there. William spent the past decade committed to change. He has proved that through his actions during his entire incarceration. Today, I am asking the board to grant him parole and give him the opportunity to be that person and to prove to all of us the person that he has worked so hard to become, and allow him to do so in the community. He will be, as the board knows, he will be supervised for an additional period of 5 years after his eventual release from parole as well. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. Okay, Mr. Ramirez, so at this time, the panel will enter into deliberation to discuss your case, and we'll come back to you shortly with our decision, okay?
Hey, just so you...
I'd like to thank the victim's family member for coming forward and giving a statement here today. Very brave, and we're, of course, sorry for your loss and continued pain. Okay.
So they're going to talk in front of him, so he's going to be able to hear what they're talking about.
Okay, so we're here.
And we're going to know
Mr.
right now
Ramirez's 1584 hearing,
whether they're going to let him home
the
or
Public
not.
Act sets forth very specific criteria. We knew before we came here today, but he further expanded on all of the programming that he participated in. Really has only had 4 disciplinary reports with the last 11 and a half years, has been educating himself and mentoring others, participating in the True unit, and working multiple jobs throughout his time in prison. He has positive supports. He has a release plan, a recovery coach set up, some job possibilities that we spoke a little bit about. This is a horrible offenses, I should say. It's not just one offense, right. But loss of life here in just such a brutal way. It's such a tragedy for everyone involved. The fact remains that Mr. Ramirez will be released in 2 years, regardless of what we do here today. He does have 5 years of probation to follow his sentence. He's eligible for parole later this year in September, so 6 years from now. I do believe that he meets all the criteria set forth in Public Act 1584. I believe that there's a reasonable probability that he would go out into the community and remain crime-free. I also believe that he has exhibited substantial rehabilitation through maturation, growth, programming, work, just his experiences and time. You know, he was 17 years old when he came in here, and I don't believe that there would be a further benefit to incarceration. I think society would benefit more from his release than from continued incarceration. I think he would probably benefit from a year and a half of parole supervision and support prior to ending his sentence. So I would support a granting of parole in this case. Ms. Berry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I always grapple with the length of the sentence versus and the crime and all the good things that these people do while they're in the facilities. And I'm just like, for the taking a life of a person 15 years, I really do believe is, a reasonable sentence. I mean, it's probably less than what we just seen. That was a conviction, but a manslaughter case and all these robberies, intentional. I really do believe, though, that Mr. Ramirez has done a tremendous work in the facility, and I'm sure that he has helped change some other people's lives, and I hope that he continues to positively impact other people that he comes across their paths. I'm still. On one hand, I want to say I would support his discretionary parole because he does meet the criteria. And on the other hand, I'm thinking that the nature of the crime is in the magnitude of his actions really is making me lean more towards not supporting. So I don't know. I heard what you said. See, Ms. Turner, what are your thoughts?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Turner.
So I feel a little differently because I think ultimately he will be contributing back to the community, and that can happen at end of sentence, on probation, after probation, so forth. I think the stabilizing effect of parole on this initial transition after a lengthy period inside, starting at a very young age, is probably warranted. A couple of things that stood out for me with Mr. Ramirez, the apology at sentencing. He got consideration. There was reference at sentencing to his sentences running concurrent because he cooperated, and because without his cooperation, they didn't think they'd be convicting his co-defendant. So So there was some immediacy to doing the right thing. I can't say making amends yet. One of the things that really stood out for me in his opening statement, and we don't see this as often as you would think, he really put his cards on the table about who he was at the time of the crime. He talked about being immature, impulsive, reacting to what he thought was an affront in the victim's attitude. Said, quite honestly, he never once considered the impact of what he was doing, that he felt nothing, that he knew his actions were selfish. And then he went on to talk about living his apology through his actions every day. And he's done that in the facility, and I feel confident that he'll do that out in the community. It just really stood out for me that he was so aware, or is now so aware of who he was then.
Right.
And as a barometer to the change of who he is now. And, you know, we didn't get into, you know, where things stand with his father now. And I'm glad that he's talking to other young men in the True unit about those conflicted relationships and not having our needs met as children. And that he could get to a place of being able to forgive his parents, and not carry that around or use it as an excuse for, you know, continuing to act out of rage. So with all of that said, and, you know, I completely get where you're at, because 15 years for life. He took a man's life when he was 46. And I hope for Mr. Ramirez, when he gets to 46, that will be a profound point in his life to realize that everything he lives after that, he had denied his victim and his victim's family. But I am willing to grant today. Thank you. Okay.
That's it. He's going
All
home.
right. Conditions. I only have one person, victim family member, JN. And then we have the surviving victim and the co-defendant. Is there anything else? Okay, in the matter of William Ramirez, number 395107, I'll make a motion to grant parole effective September 12th, 2025, with the following additional condition: due to have no contact with the family member of the victim, initials JN, no contact with the robbery victim, initials WH, and no contact with your co-defendant, Evan Lott. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? No. Okay, so it's a unanimous decision. Your parole has been granted. Do you understand, sir?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You'll get everything in writing, and we wish you the best. Thank you, everyone, for your participation.
This
Thank
concludes
Thank you.
This concludes the parole hearing for William Ramirez. It is 12:21 p.m.
We'll take a 10-minute break before we start the next case. We'll come back at 12:30.
10-minute break. Damn, 12:30. What the woods? All right. Hey, so if you haven't done so, please do so. Hit that follow button. If you're on TT, if you're on YT, if you can hit that subscribe button, it's free 99. Gosh, why am I crying? Hey, it's emotional, you know. Definitely a tragedy, and you know, for the family and for him, you know, his family, I'm pretty sure, and himself, he's definitely happy times, happy moments. Let me see, where was this from? What jail or prison? So this is from Connecticut, from the state of Connecticut Board of Parole Hearings. I will not be able to tell you what location, because I'm not sure. I didn't look that up. But this stream is being being broadcast live and direct.
Okay.
So he did.
I was tough.
Congrats.
They really drove.
Mike, yeah,
My heart's like.
Mike, but you did.
Hot mic. They got the hot mic.
You got it. All right, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
All right. Good to see you.
Man, they should have kept the camera on. How dare they cut the video feed and they left the microphone on? Man, that would have been cool to be able to see the his reaction. Anyhow, I wish California would live these streams. Yeah, me too. But yeah, California, for whatever reason, they don't allow any public access. There's maybe about 15 states in the United States that do allow access to these border parole hearings, and if any state does allow